Hello everyone, welcome back to Wonder Walkers. Today we're going to talk about the top 5 things you must do when you go to Seoul in South Korea.
The list is in no particular order, so without further ado, our first place that we would recommend is Myeongdong. Myeongdong is just a mecca for cosmetics and skincare, and oh my gosh, it was probably one of my favorite places because I love shopping so much. So I really enjoyed going there, and I think shopping is just such a big part of Seoul, and a lot of people living in Seoul, I think it's like a big thing for them to do over there. I mean, every second store you come across is generally like a skincare store or a skincare brand. So it's really interesting to go through and see all the stores, and even clothing is so big over there, like so many different types of clothing. I just really enjoyed going there. It is a very touristy spot, so I guess if you're looking for something that's a little bit less touristy, I probably wouldn't recommend it as much, but considering it was our first time to Seoul and we didn't really know what to expect and know where to go initially, that was one of the places we were recommended to go for a lot of shopping, and I thought it was really cool. And also there was a bit of street food along the streets there as well, so that was really cool to try that.
The next thing we recommend you doing when going to Seoul is seeing the palaces. So there are 5 palaces in Seoul. We went to 2 of them. We went to the Gyeongbok Palace. I'm very sorry if I've said that wrong to anyone who speaks Korean. And we also went to the Gyeongseong Palace. So they were really cool. There was just people walking around in like traditional dresses. There was just to see the architecture. It's so different to European and Western architecture. It's just, and they're in such good condition as well. Like great gardens, there's like fountains, there's plants, there's, oh, it's just so beautiful. It's like so photogenic, and there is just so much to see because they're such big palaces as well. Like they're a couple kilometers long and wide, so you could spend probably at least an hour or 2 hours, even more, in just one palace alone.
There's plenty of photo opportunities there, especially for photographers. It's really a photographer's dream, so we definitely recommend going to any of those palaces if you've got the time, and probably spending a little bit longer than what we did there, because we didn't realize how big they were, and we were doing kind of like a hop-on hop-off bus tour around Seoul, so we were trying to get through as much as we could in a short period of time. So yeah, we definitely recommend even spending a little bit more time at those places.
The third thing we would recommend you seeing when you go to Seoul is the War Memorial of Korea, because it was just amazing. So you can learn all about the Korean War, and what's really cool about it for us was that it's from the Korean side rather than the Western, like British and American side. So to hear it from their perspective and see it from their perspective is just so much more interesting, like when you know quite a bit about your own. So to hear from the other perspective is really interesting. Not only did they have things from the Korean War, but from wars from like the last couple of centuries. So that was really interesting to learn a bit more about the Korean history. Like I personally, and I don't know if you did or not, but I didn't really know much about Korean history other than the Korean War. So that was really, really cool to see.
The fourth place we'd recommend that you guys go to if you're in Seoul is to Namsan Mountain. I'm not quite sure if I pronounced that right either, so just hopefully I did. But it's a really, really beautiful viewpoint of the city. It's where the Seoul Tower is, and it's perched kind of like, I guess you could say, in the middle of Seoul. It's like on a really sort of steep mountain hill in the middle of Seoul. So really once you get to the top and you've walked to the top, you can really see across the whole of Seoul City. So it was really an amazing viewpoint, I think, for us to get to. And once again, lots of photo opportunities, really beautiful, especially on a clear day. It was just gorgeous when we were there. And I think in every city that you go to, it's always kind of nice to see it from a really cool, like, high perspective. So I guess that would be a really, really good starting point for Seoul if you're looking at getting that perspective.
The thing that amazed me about Namsan Mountain was how big Seoul was. Like, I knew how big Seoul was, but when you see it from a higher perspective and you see how vast it is and how wide and how high the buildings are, it's just amazing. Like the the size of the city is just incredible to see with the naked eye. The fifth thing we recommend you do when you go to Seoul is to visit the DMZ. This list would not be complete without visiting the DMZ.
Yeah, so this would be more of a day trip from Seoul because it is, I think, around maybe 30 k's out, something like that. And it's definitely worth it, and to go and see the war tunnels as well. And it's just a really interesting experience. I know personally for us, when we went to the DMZ, or DMZ, I'm always confused on how to pronounce that, being Australian. But yeah, we found it was more focusing on the reconciliation of everyone, and not so much like a wartime kind of thing, or you know, North Korea versus South Korea kind of thing. It was more like they want to be reunited. So it was kind of an interesting perspective to go and see that from the DMZ, and sort of expecting to be completely different than what it was, and it was nice. It was actually kind of sad, but yeah, a good experience.
And there's so much more to do than just see the border between South and North Korea, because we went to a train station in Dorasan, and it's kind of the first train station closest to the border, so that if reunification does happen one day, the train could come from Pyongyang in North Korea through to Dorasan and then onto Seoul. So that was really cool to see. It's already built. It's a really modern one, probably built in the last 10 years or so.
Another place we'd recommend in Seoul is Itaewon, and it's more of an international community kind of area. There's a lot of shopping along there. It's a little bit more, I guess you could say, maybe a bit more boutique. It's a very trendy area of Seoul, and probably quite highly sought after by people wanting to live there, or people even wanting to stay around that area as tourists. And it was quite easy to communicate with a lot of people along there, because a lot of them are English speaking, a lot of people working in the shops there, so it was quite easy to communicate with people there. Really cool shopping, like I said before, and some international brands, like for food, if you're into kind of doing that on holidays. But like, obviously we were in Seoul, we wanted to have more Korean style food, but yeah, so there's a lot of options for food and shopping along there, which was really cool to see. If I had to choose between Itaewon and Myeongdong, I'd probably choose Myeongdong, but then Itaewon has some really interesting architecture and that sort of thing, and back streets, which is really cool to explore too. So I guess there's a little bit of difference between both places, whereas Myeongdong is a little bit more modern and definitely a little bit more built up.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Please like, comment and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, thank you so much for watching.
Bye.
Bye.